One thing that I've been reflecting upon, that I reflected a lot this last week, was rejection. I think I felt a sense of rejection or embarrassment in a way that I hadn't before in the last year. And one was this circumstance where I met this guy and I really resonated with him. It was really easy to talk to him and I felt really comfortable and physically very comfortable, and I wanted to be closer to the person. I wasn't necessarily super attracted to the person, but to him, but something about the connection made me feel really comfortable and really safe. And then that person was seeing someone already, so that really ended up in nothing. But I still wanted to get to know the person. And just ended up in this situation where I felt a bit of embarrassment. And then I corrected myself, but it was still a very embarrassing situation. And then recently, on another situation, I also felt like that because I really wanted to get close to this person, but that person really wasn't interested, at least not in the way that I was. And then I ended up feeling that sense of rejection again, which led me to ponder upon what's the purpose of rejection and what I can take out of it from a positive note. And to be quite honest, it turns out it's actually a really beautiful thing, because in the moments that I was rejected, I was taken out of a situation and a circumstance with someone that just wasn't meant for me. And where I couldn't discern, life discerned it for me. So in truth, it actually served a great purpose in my life, and it allowed me to move forth in the right direction. When I look back in all of those circumstances, those things really weren't for me, and those people really weren't for me. In the moment, I had some sort of desire or expectation and desire that I was linking with that person would grant me something in life, in a sense of the unfoldment of the connection. And when I look at it now, it really wasn't meant to be, I think. It just, sometimes it's for the best when things just go away and when they end themselves in your life. It's always best in that way. And it's never actually a rejection. It's more like life is just telling you that that's just not for you. And there's something better. There's something that is more aligned with you. And it's not that those people are bad or better or in any sort of way, but it's a lot more that it's just two different frequencies that just don't quite align, to be quite honest. I have been doing a practice for the past few days, and it's well over a week now. Perhaps it's even almost 2 weeks. And which is, before I go to sleep, I sit in with my legs crossed, and I just chant. I have a mala that I got back when I was in India, in Dharamshala, and I chant 108 times, which is the amount of beats in the mala. And I've been noticing a huge increase of energy for the past few days, and a lot of going deeper into meditation faster. So it's really working something. And also things just seem to be orchestrating themselves in a certain way, that it's always in alignment with what I feel inside, even if I wasn't completely inclined to make that decision. Life is just orchestrating itself in that direction, which is really interesting to observe. I have dreams every single night. Some dreams I'm more aware of the meaning of them than other ones, but they're still like very vivid, and I do remember them when I wake up. And the birds are so loud. This morning I went on this walk, and there's this place I go to. There's just like a full drop down, and it's just trees, and there's two trees that I always stare at, which are like wild pine trees. One of them has a natural shape that is round, and that's just a species that we have here. It's a beautiful tree, and it's been there for decades and decades, since my grandma was a child already. And I just stare at it, and I closed my eyes, and all I could hear was the birds singing. The birds singing. It was almost like this melody, because there are so many different tones and different sounds with different frequencies, that they're playing a music all the time. And in the morning they're very active. Then in the middle of the day they become a lot more quiet, and then by the end of the day they start screaming again and making this sound. They love to be on the roof of where I'm at, which is my studio, and yeah, they're my companions when I'm here back home, I guess. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya. So I will share something that I've written, just a little passage of it. So in essence, it does not matter whether I attain something or not, because it is bound to happen as long as you keep doing that thing and looking in that direction. Whether in this life, the next, or many others ahead, it does not matter. The pure dissolvement into love and oneness, the pure surrender, and the act is the act of remembering. It can't be taken away or stopped from happening. One way or another, eventually it will come to be. And so it is. One of the things I've had to work through in the past, I would say pretty much 10 years, has been discipline. I was raised in a way that was quite freeing in one way. We didn't really have strict rules to follow in terms of like, I would go to bed at any time, most likely after midnight, and everyone else did as well, because we would get home super late and everything like that. And I never had like a strict practice of discipline. So when I started to feel like I needed that and I needed some kind of structure, I had to build it for myself. So I didn't grow up with a lot of discipline. So I ended up having to create that for myself. To create that discipline, one of the things that I learned was the most challenging was how if I didn't see the immediate result, I would stop and I wouldn't do it anymore. So I've had to learn repetition. Any practice you take on or any change of habit you wish to have, you have to be consistent and to follow through and to keep doing it even if you don't see the results right away, and to just have this inherent faith that it will keep going and it will somehow unfold in the way that you're hoping, and you just keep building it. And I was thinking about this while walking yesterday, about building a foundation. That for the first time in 10 years, I feel like I have some sort of foundation and structure around me. I have my routine and I have these habits that I go back even if I fall off. And in the beginning, I would fall off of them very consistently because they're just not my habit. And I would feel bad or ashamed that I did that. Like pushing forward, passing forth, like after all of these years and that amount of consistency, now they are the things that come the most easy for me, and I just had to keep going and doing it. There was no need to feel shame or to feel embarrassed. Actually, those feelings perpetuated the pattern, the unhealthy pattern, to be quite honest. So when you're very loud. They perpetuated the feeling of shame and not doing what I'm supposed to. And when I sort of decided over and over and over again, no, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm changing this. I don't care. This is the direction I want to go on, and this is the life that I wish to have for myself and lifestyle. And I'm going to keep doing it, even if I'm not perfect, even if I don't know what I'm doing. And the birds are extremely loud. They're so cute, though. Like they're screaming that I'm meant to go somewhere else. I need the foundation for that. So in order to build structure, I needed to become consistent. And for the first time, I feel like I have that consistency. And I will say, it feels really good to have a healthy habit to fall back into every time you feel out of your center. Feels really good to feel like there's this foundation that will support you. And then I start like seeing the analogies with everything around me in my life. When I started off painting or writing or reading in English or anything like that, I was like, why am I doing this? Like, if I'm not good at it right away, if it doesn't happen right away in the way that I think it should, if it's not perfect, then why am I doing it? Well, the whole point, one, is to enjoy the process of something. Number three, like, it's a way of building something that lasts for a long time. Everyone starts off somewhere. My parents started off a company and a shop on the same year that I was born. It was open like a few months before I was born, and everything happened in that way. When they started off, they only had one kind of product to offer to people, so naturally they would only that would come. And people, it's like, it's new, so they want to see it, but then only through consistency and being there every single day and showing up over and over again, do you build a foundation in something solid that people feel a sense of being able to lean on and to have as something that's just there and that they can feel supported by. So that made me also think about my own process. And whatever it is that I want to build, I must be consistent and put continuous effort and consistency in order to build something. And not really necessarily be thinking about the outcomes of it or not, but more so on the process of it and in the how I do it instead of what I'll get from it. Like, for example, I'm making these videos. I'm not entirely sure what's the purpose in them. I know I enjoy making them, and I know I feels meaningful for me in some way because I get to have these conversations that I have with myself, and maybe someone will listen and be my friend in this. I do have conversations like that, like about more esoteric kind of subjects with friends, and I really do enjoy that. When I'm here, it feels really isolating in some ways, and it's a lot more just me. And there's certain things you don't share sometimes because there's just differences in opinion, and it just feels like sort of a waste of energy. I'm not in this path to debate with someone or to prove myself right or them right, and to have a discussion of, does this make sense? It really, at this point, really doesn't matter to me. I'm in it because it's all that really makes sense to me, and because of my own personal experiences, and I don't have to have the full truth. All I really care about is that on a daily basis I feel a sense of peace, and I feel centered, and I feel joy, and I feel healthy, and I feel good. And I know that I'm acting from a place of righteousness and sovereignty within my being towards other people, and with gratitude towards life, because that just genuinely makes me feel better. There's really nothing to prove to anyone other than just being yourself and sharing who you are. And I don't want to debate, does God exist? What is God? Or like, I mean, that's all interesting, even a question of what is God, and it can lead to really interesting conversations, but I'm not necessarily in a position or a desire to want to like transform someone or to make them believe the same thing that I believe in, because I know that I only feel the way that I feel because of the things that I've gotten to experience. Why I've gotten to experience the things that I have, because to be quite honest, there's no other way that my path could have unfolded, because I got to have those experiences. It permanently changed me and my way of making choices in my life. Something within me seems to be changing a lot now. The desire to fit in or to belong to mainstream society feels quite pretty much like an empty thought. Still have like human desires, and I think it's sort of part of it. I still do feel like having a family and building my own and having my own home and house and my own life in my own terms, and ways in which I feel more aligned to live life on a daily basis in a lifestyle. Places that I would love to live in and travel to. But there was this comparison that would happen to other people and to their path and to what made sense to them. And then you would sort of not idolize, but you would look at these people or their lives and you would sort of desire them and desire to be part of it. And more, the more I connect with myself, the more I understand how someone else's version of reality would just feel empty for me, because I'm just my own unique being. And different things make sense to me than it makes sense to other people, and I would experience them inherently in a different way, just because my way of being and thinking is just different, in the same way that everyone's is. So a lot of that is changing within me, and it's becoming a lot more steady, a lot more discerning, but it also means that in a way it feels more narrow, because there's like this much that makes sense, and in another way it feels open, because everything can be and is possible. So can't believe it's gonna be 10 years. 10 years since I finished high school. I was 17 back then, and school finishes around May, June in Portugal. And then I went to college for 3 months in architecture. I really did actually like it, but at the same time it just felt that didn't have any meaning. That's what I mean. It's like whenever I can do anything and I'll be good at it. Like I could do anything. I could be a real estate agent, or like something in finances or economy or this or that, or even just a painter. But it's like, or in a creative area. But then all of those things, when I tap into feeling what it would be like to live that life, it almost feel like almost it'd be empty, because I like to have a different kind of, something has to have meaning for me. Like, does it connect with something higher? Does it have that feeling that is transcendental? Does it have a meaning that is more profound? And painting, I can only do it, like, I could do anything, but again, it only feels purposeful or meaningful if I'm doing it in a way that has a meaning for me and speaks of something higher and something more profound than just ordinary human life, which for me sometimes feels very superficial. even in its profound nature that is transcendental in itself, because it is energy and everything around us is energy, and the illusion of atoms that carry energy within them, and everything that we see to be a projection. Last night I was laying in bed and I started thinking, so everything is a projection. Like, for example, this camera is only recording me because there's this mirror inside of it, and when light shines through it, it reflects back and it's able to record this image. So everything is a projection and reflection. Oh, I didn't even think about this last night. I want to expound on that. But what I thought actually about last night was, so light, or main source of light, is the sun. Because at nighttime, you can't really see anything. But even though you can't see anything because the sun is not shining light upon it anymore, I can still feel things and touch them. So what does that mean? Like, then that means that everything has to have some sort of light source, energy source from within it in order to exist as something that you feel as solid. I was reflecting on it, and so that means the earth itself has its own light within. And that means that we have as well, which makes sense because when, you have to have something that breathes life into it. This is going to sound weird. I used to go to funerals a lot when I was little because my mom just really, a lot of people would die, and she really felt that she had to be there. And to be fair, she's really, really good at being supportive and being in those kinds of environments where there's like death or something really intense happening and transformative. And in some ways, it's almost like she takes on some things and processes them for other people. At least this is my observation. Either way, one of my conclusions recently also when my grandparents passed away, and just looking at this body, this human body without breath in it. And it's so fascinating because I remember looking at my grandma, she was the one that passed away first, and I remember looking at her face and it was like, I know it's her and it looks like her, but it almost looks like someone else because there's no personality and breath in it anymore. That was a really interesting experience to have because then you always have to make that question. Okay, then this body's made out of molecules and atoms and has energy within it. When you pass away, the breath just goes out and you breathe for the last time. And I've been blessed enough to be able to be so close to that and to observe that. And it's just, the body's still there and it doesn't cease, it doesn't dematerialize itself right away just because something went out of it. But definitely something does go out of it because like, you can see the person starting to go away and still being connected to the body, and sometimes they go away and they come back and they go away and they come back until they take their last breath. And it's like what's the source of that breath? Of that energy that makes the body breathe in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's God, then what is God? It's consciousness and it's energy. Where does it come from and why does it exist? And I wonder if I'll ever have the answer to these questions that really bring curiosity out of my mind. I've also understood that because my path started off in this life by having the experiences, and then after that I looked up the knowledge to like trying to understand the things that were happening to me, I came to this understanding that you can only know something as much to a certain degree in terms of knowledge and logical understanding. There's a point in time when you experience something as yourself, that's the only way that you'd fully grasp the whole totality of that being. That's what's so interesting about like merging with another soul, and why probably we have this inherent desire to union with another person, regardless of their gender, but like most often a woman and a man, or like that masculine and feminine, and having that desire to merge with another soul. In essence, why do we desire that so much? Beyond just the physical like desires and all of that. At least this has been my experience, because I have not had like a relationship with someone, because I've gotten to experience such profound things and inner knowings that something that's not as profound as that just doesn't feel like it makes sense to me. Because you can experience a lot of things just with God and with yourself, and it is it's another level. And to try to explain this to people probably sounds like berserks, and it makes no sense to them, because unless you sort of experience it for yourself, you don't really understand it, I think. And I understand that because I don't know, I just have this inner knowing that anything that is not that profound and that open to sort of a soul merging is superficial and empty. And I'm just not interested in that, because that would be less than what I already have, just with myself and God. I hope this makes sense, but I guess it doesn't have to make sense to anyone. This is just my own truth, as it is, and as I am. And so I wonder about when you get to certain states and you start to experience that wave as yourself, and you sort of become one with it, everything makes sense without you even being able to logically explain it fully. So that's a place that I want to tap into a lot more, and to see what happens and what I get to come into an understanding of. That makes me really curious about life and wanting to experience life. I don't know if I'd go for it. Well, let me pause it. That would be interesting. I've also come to understand that even though I like resonate so much with different paths, even though I resonate so much with different paths, like different religious paths, I feel like the word religion has just gotten not a good reputation, but I'll use it because it's just one of the best ways to describe it. Just, you have Hinduism and Islamism and Christianism and Judaism and everythingism, and so many much more than just these ones. These are just Buddhism, just the things that are coming up into my mind. When you have those paths, I resonate with them, and I really find myself feeling fulfillment from following those different kind of aspects of this path to God. But I don't feel inclined to belong to any of them. And I've also found that like the super alternative kind of communities are just a repetition. And that just because someone is doing spiritual things doesn't mean that they've gotten to experience those things for themselves or the experience of oneness with God. And I'm not saying this in a judgmental way. I'm saying it because I had this illusion and perception about those other people, or people in Buddhism that live in a monastery, or people in those communities that have a guru and live in this more isolated and kind of like off of society. Because I've grown up around places that have those kind of communities. And I had this illusion that because they were in those environments and in those settings, that they were higher, or like they had this higher experience of life. And the more I've gotten to know people from those places and how it actually functions inside of those things, my perception changed, and that illusion sort of like crashed down and like opened itself up with clarity that like it doesn't really mean anything. That whatever anyone says that they do, even that I say that I do, it doesn't really matter. You can feel when something is true by the way someone speaks, by the energy you feel around them. Do you feel peace? Do you feel a sense of truth, a sense of genuine being from that human being? Or does it feel chaotic or confusing, or sort of that they're also in another illusion of themselves, in the same way that you can have your own? The way that you feel in the presence of those people and the interactions you get to have with them and conversations, and do you feel judged when you're around them or talking to them? Do you feel an openness? Do you feel love from them, or do you feel the opposite? Like all of those things are what actually matters, and what actually your own inner wisdom is telling you about those people's paths and how they align or do not align with yours. Yeah, so I've realized sometimes we have these constructs of what reality is or what people are, and just because of the setting or like the people that they hang out with. And then we believe that that's actually what people are, but they're actually not, and when we get to know them, it's so different. So all of those like looking up to other people has been crumbling down, and a new level of awareness has been being born within me, of not really looking down on anyone at all, and not looking up at anyone at all either. Like those people in those settings could have like a really high consciousness and a really big awareness of God and union with God. But then again, you're having your own experience, and if you don't experience that sense of peace and alignment or resonance with that person, then what does it really matter? Like there's really nothing to look up to, because you're in your own unique path. And you'll get there, maybe in a similar way, in a different way, or or the same way, but it's more about going along your own path and finding things that really resonate with you, instead of like allowing or forcing certain things, allowing certain settings, certain people, certain environments for you to be around or to be around you, just because of an idea or illusion of what they are, when actually they might be something completely different. And it's not that it's bad or that it's good, it just might not be the one that resonates with you, and you can feel it when it doesn't, and you can feel it when it just doesn't resonate. And if you were to try to force yourself because you created a logical idea that was higher in some way and that you should do that, then it's really not going to go anywhere because it's just not your path. And that's really something that I've been realizing and understanding in a different way now. Yeah. It's been an interesting journey, to say the least. I think because I've met so many people and they're such kind-hearted people. Other people still have their very strong personalities. And other people you feel a very sweet openness and love. But you can feel that from any walks of life and people from any sort of lifestyle. So it's not really up to that or one specific thing will make them be that way. It's about each person finding their own way. And I know I'm repeating myself. That's just the way that I change perspectives. By having these banters with myself. I really have changed a lot this past year. I had some very intense and profound experiences. I was really open for love, and I really wanted to meet someone, and I met people that really, the whole experience, I very much transformed afterwards. It didn't really lead to a solid relationship in any form, but I learned a lot, and I'm really grateful and happy that I opened up and that I was that willing to follow my heart and to wish to have that, to build something with someone, and that I've embraced that part of me. One of the things that I had when I was in Bali and I had the first shamanic journey, one of the things why I cried so much and I was so emotional in that experience was because since I was little, I've always had this thing about feeling just like have always had these dreams, which made me desire to have an experience like that in human form and with another person on a physical level. And at the same time, the more I've opened up in this path, a part of me just feels like nothing can compare to God and the feeling of union with God, and that why don't I just become some sort of monk and just live a life like that? But then I'm shown that like there's this inherent desire that is coming from somewhere that does wish to have a relationship with someone at some point. And when I was having that experience in Bali, and why I got so emotional was I just had this thought of just accept that part of you that has that desire and stop judging it as something wrong. Because I almost felt myself as if I'm this yogi that has to renounce having a relationship with someone else, and I was sort of rejecting this feminine side of me and this human side of me that for one reason or another is feeling that desire and is feeling that as a truth in my experience for this lifetime. And it was sort of this embrace. And in these recent experiences that I had with guys, just getting to know them, to be quite honest, but opening up myself to get to know them, I've realized that in each one of those experiences, I've allowed myself to accept that part of me. So in the end, it was a lot about my relationship with myself and accepting a part of myself that I was before rejecting. And rejecting it was what was causing the pain and a sense of suffering. And the more I embrace it and I allow it to be, I gain a lot more discernment and a lot more clarity on what I actually allow or shouldn't allow in my life, and what makes sense to me and what doesn't make sense to me. To not be open to absolutely everything and actually be more discerning and actually listen within at what says that it's right and what says that it's not as right for me. And I've gotten to this point where I'm okay as I am, and if someone comes into my life at some point, it does, and I'm not really looking for it or seeking it, to be quite honest. Sometimes I wonder, where does this desire come from? Why do I have it? Why am I not above it? But then again, why am I seeing it as something above it? Yeah, this is a very honest conversation that I do not say to everyone. But either way, let's conclude this subject, which is I'm embracing who I am. This is just my truth. I'm someone who feels things very profoundly, and I will only go with something if it really feels true within me. I've realized that I'm seeking something that is stable and has a foundation that is able to experience something that is higher, whether in life or in a relationship, and I'm accepting that part of me, and it's different from other people. Yes, that's okay. Realize I really can't just be like everyone else, because that's just not me. And if it doesn't make sense to other people, then it doesn't make sense to them, and it's okay. Like, I will say that I have come to understand other people and how they operate and how they relate to each other, and I understand where they're coming from, or I have my own conclusions, and I think you can see the soul in everyone, in every circumstance, that really just desires and wants to be loved and just wants to feel at peace and safe with another being, whether it's in friendships or any relationship we have in our life. And that's something that I see commonly over everyone. Behind all of our personalities and the things we do sometimes that don't quite make sense because we're trying to protect ourselves in one way or another, I see within each and every one of those people that I come across in my life, friendships and everything like that, that's really just what's there in their hearts. And you can always understand people if you see them in that way. Doesn't mean you allow everything or that you have to have certain people in your life, but if you see just their soul, their little tiny gigantic piece of light that's giving life to that body, one way or another, most reasons for why people do the things they do is that they're just defending themselves or feeling in lack in some way in life, or seek some sort of gain of self-worth from external things or from attaining things. And we've all done that. We all do that. Like, I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that I never done that or do that in times that I become unconscious of my actions or the ways that I'm acting, or I'm feeling like I need to protect myself in some way because of something, whatever it is that I'm feeling. But it's very natural and it's okay, and in the end, yes, we all just want to kind of melt into being and feel a sense of profound joy and peace within. And that's so far my conclusion in life in general, in my own observation of myself and other people as well. So, yeah, this was a very honest conversation. I do open up like this with friends, but not like anyone. Either way, I think is very genuine and hopefully not to be judged. Yeah. So I'd like to just go into a piece of prayer now. I'm grateful for this life, and I'm grateful for this consciousness. I'm grateful for the incredible experiences that I've been bestowed upon. I'm grateful for this voice and the courage to speak and to allow other people to listen and to experience me in one way or another. I'm grateful that these words came through me and may it help anyone that is there to listen to them. And I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for how I can breathe and I'm aware of my breath and that I get to question all of these things and get answers in one way or another. I'm grateful that I get to be reminded of God and the sound that the birds make, or a cat that comes to me in the right moment, or just someone that is kind to me in the one day that I really, really needed it. And it reminds me that there is love and kindness and a feeling of safetyness in our relation with other people. And I'm grateful for my hands and that I get to paint and that I can breathe even when my stuff knows because of the seasonal changes. And I'm grateful for the camera that is functioning and the microphone, and I'm grateful for anyone listening, and I'm grateful for life itself, and I'm grateful for God, and I'm grateful that I'm always protected and that I'm watched over, and I'm grateful for my voice again. I'm truly grateful. May you walk your life through a path of righteousness, of love and light. May you be reminded every single day that this is but a dream, meant to be a joyful dream and a peaceful dream, and that you get to experience whatever it is your mind wishes to bestow its attention upon. So be mindful where you bestow your attention upon and what you allow in your mind or not, for it will create the reality around you. Be mindful of that. Choose wisely. Choose the direction you wish to point it at, like an arrow. Your mind. So be mindful. Be healthy. And make the choices you know that make you feel the most healthy. And choose love. And choose silent over an argument. And just be mindful with the words you speak. Choose to look at someone that might be emotional or intense and see the little child within them, and while not allowing everything, you create those boundaries and you also see the innocence within them. To not see them as a villain or bad, but just simply someone who probably is just in pain and acting out of a place that's not very conscious. So you be conscious, be aware of what you speak and the way you speak and what is true and what is not true. And it's okay when we're wrong. It's okay to say sorry, and it's okay to correct ourselves at any point in time, and it's okay to change. And nothing we've done defines who we are. It's every day we get to redefine who we are. Every single day, at every single minute of our lives, we get to choose differently or the same. It's our choice. So be mindful of the choice. And thank you so much for existing, and I get to experience this life. I'm really, truly grateful. Amen.